By now you've probably heard of the announcement that The Legend of Zelda is being made into a live-action movie. And although I mostly make Smash content, I couldn't help making some sort of content about this exciting news. The internet is abuzz with speculation of what actors will play the roles of Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf. While it's fun to speculate about who will play which character and make all sorts of AI-generated images to satisfy our imaginations, I've been pondering more about what the story of the movie will be about. And since I'm not just a gamer, but a published author, I care a lot about the story. A typical story consists of 3 elements: characters, plot, and setting. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's dive into what we might expect to see in these 3 different categories. One of the most consistent things within any Zelda story is its characters. Link has always been the heroic protagonist in every video game. He is a Hylian who is known for his courage in the face of darkness, and his determination to protect those who cannot protect themselves. He's a skilled fighter who is proficient in a multitude of weapons. He's worthy and strong enough to wield the legendary Master Sword, the Triforce of Courage, and many other powerful artifacts that denote him as a chosen hero of the gods of Hyrule. Link's courage should be his most important character trait in the movie. While it may make it difficult for an innately courageous character to have much of a character arc, it will stay true to the source material, and good stories can be told even when the main character is fearless, such as Mario in the super successful Mario movie, and Thor in Thor Ragnarok. These 2 stories didn't have much of a character arc other than digging deep, beating the antagonist, and saving the princess, or Asgard. Well, sorta. The point is, Link's character arc doesn't need to be complex. It can remain as simple as facing his fears, beating Ganondorf, and saving Princess Zelda. That's what I hope to see in the movie. Now, one more thing to mention with Link is that in the games, we never hear Link speak. He can talk, but we've never heard his voice. Well, except for those old cartoon series. And I hope that's not a source for inspiration for this movie.
Excuse me, princess.
While it may work in a video game to never hear Link speak, I seriously doubt that would work in a full-length live-action movie. We need to connect with the protagonist, and that is extremely difficult to do if he's mute. In a similar way, Nintendo realized that if Mario spoke with a strong Italian accent in the 90-minute Mario movie, English-speaking audiences would struggle to connect with him. So, they directed Chris Pratt to give Mario more of a New Yorker accent, which is more relatable.
What about the accents? Is it too much?
Too much? It's perfect! Wahoo!
Okay, I'm gonna trust you.
Point being, Link should speak during the live-action movie. And whoever plays as Link, whether it be Tom Holland, Josh Hutcherson, or whoever, they better do a good job because we want Link to be portrayed as faithfully as possible. This is one of the main reasons many of us didn't want a live-action film, and instead hoped for an animated movie, like the Mario movie. I was surprised that they decided to go live-action instead of animated because it's much easier to screw it up. Just look at the Sonic movie as an example. Sonic looked awful at first, but fortunately the creators listened to the fans' outcries and they changed Sonic's appearance to be more faithful to the source material. I'm not so sure Nintendo will listen to its fans that well. I'm worried many of us will be upset with the direction they take, and we might end up hating the Zelda movie as much as the live-action Mario movie from the 90s. But Nintendo didn't have any control over that movie, and this time they do, so I'm cautiously optimistic that they'll pull it off. And specifically, I'm talking about Link. If they can successfully portray Link in a way that's faithful to the Legend of Zelda franchise, then everything else should fall in place. Nintendo pulled it off with the Mario movie, so I hope they do it again with this one. The second crucial character in the Legend of Zelda series is the character whom the series is actually named after, Zelda. She is the Princess of Hyrule, the bearer of the Triforce of Wisdom, the incarnation of the goddess Hylia, and a possible love interest with Link. While Link's character arc is simple, Zelda's can be complex. That trend started ever since the Ocarina of Time, and her character arc has grown more complex in every game since. Take Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom for instance. All of the memories and most of the cutscenes in the game have to do with her story. She has complex relationship issues with her father, the king, who won't let her follow her dreams, and he reminds her that her duty is to awaken her Hylian powers. She has to make difficult decisions and sacrifices when she gets sent back in time, so she can save Hyrule in the future. I'm eager to see what the live-action movie has in store for Zelda. I hope they give her more of an active role than a damsel in distress. On the other hand, One of the most common motivators for Link has always been to save Princess Zelda. But that can be accomplished even if Zelda isn't captured. There are other ways he can save her without her being an active character. Instead of being captured, she could be fighting Ganondorf for over 100 years, or she could be sent to the past, or something in some way where she can be active and yet Link can still go to save her. The third character to likely join the big screen will be Ganondorf. He's the most iconic Zelda villain throughout the franchise, the wielder of the Triforce of Power, leader of the Gerudo, and the Demon King. However, while I'm confident Link and Zelda will be in the movie, I'm not as sure about Ganondorf. There are other Zelda villains such as Vaati, Dark Link, and Majora's Mask. Who knows, maybe they'll team up and make the most horrible villain yet. My hope though is that the antagonist is just Ganondorf. I love to see his character fleshed out in a carefully crafted story. We all know that he seeks power and darkness over the whole world, but why? Why is he so evil? I hope Nintendo will actually dive deep into Ganondorf's motivations in this movie and make us hate him and love him at the same time, just like we do with the Joker or Loki. Ganondorf is likely the reason why Nintendo decided to make this movie live action instead of animated. Compare Ganondorf to Bowser. They're both bad guys, but at completely different levels. Bowser might be willing to kill to get what he wants.
I'll be sacrificing them in your honor.
But Ganondorf goes much farther and darker. He turns people into zombies. He himself can be a zombie. He summons monsters far scarier and more sinister than the ones Bowser does. Bowser can be comical and thus voiced by Jack Black. Ganondorf should not be comical. What I'm getting at is that Ganondorf might make the Legend of Zelda movie PG-13. And for that reason, Nintendo might have decided to not make it animated, because animated movies are generally for a younger audience. If that is the case, then I hope to compare Ganondorf with the likes of Sauron from The Lord of the Rings. The two of them actually have a lot of similarities when it comes to what they're capable of and their motivations. Oh man, if this Zelda movie could get anywhere near the quality of the Lord of the Rings movies, I'd go nuts. But I seriously doubt that'll happen. The Lord of the Rings movies are a masterpiece that will likely never be rivaled. But if any story could do it for me, it would be The Legend of Zelda. The setting of this movie is actually what has me the most curious. The typical setting for Zelda games has been Hyrule, a fantasy setting much like The Lord of the Rings, but sometimes the setting is on a water world, dotted by the occasional island, and sometimes the setting is in the sky, dotted by the occasional sky islands. The most common element of the Zelda setting is the need for exploration. The land provides clues or milestones for Link to progress in his quest. Often, those come from an ancient civilization who mysteriously disappeared. But one idea I want to address is the concept of a portal setting. A portal setting is where the real world connects to a fantasy world by some sort of portal. For Wonderland in the real world, the portal was a rabbit hole. For Narnia in the real world, the portal was a wardrobe. For the Mushroom Kingdom in the real world, the portal was a pipe. For Hyrule in the real world, will there be a portal between the two? What if Link is an ordinary human being living in New York, like Mario was, and somehow gets sucked into Hyrule, and now he needs to defeat a Demon King and save a princess? The portal idea may not feel faithful to the Zelda story, but I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo did it just because it's a common trope that worked for Mario. The advantage of the portal setting is it helps us to relate to Link. It might be hard for us to relate to a pointy-eared boy who grew up without a fairy, but if he's a teenage boy who struggles with the daily challenges of high school, well, that's far more relatable. And if that teenage boy gets sucked into a portal, completes a daring quest in the fantasy world, returns to the real world, and then uses what he's learned to overcome all his problems in the real world, well, there's something very satisfying about that. That's why it's been done so many times. That's why the Mario movie did it. I'm not so sure if that's what the Zelda movie will do, but I just want to point it out as a possibility. Let me know in the comments whether you'd like or hate the portal idea. It's just as possible that the portal setting won't happen, and we'll instead just get Hyrule in all its open world glory. I wouldn't mind that either, as long as it's portrayed well. It doesn't need to 100% match any of its video game versions, but as long as there's Death Mountain in the distance, we're off to a good start. The plot of most Zelda stories is driven by the antagonist, usually Ganondorf. He's the one causing all the problems that Link and Zelda have to go fix. And that's a good formula to keep for the movie, but what problems will Ganondorf be causing? Will he spread his gloom across Hyrule, or try to restore a drowned version of Hyrule, or cause a Twilight Realm to consume Hyrule, or manipulate his way to grab a hold of the Triforce and wish for Hyrule to be transformed into a land of darkness, dreariness, and walking death? Of course, the movie shouldn't repeat the plot from one of the games, but it should contain iconic elements from them, such as the Triforce, the Master Sword, the Deku Tree, the Paraglider, the Boomerang, Hookshot, Bow and Arrow, Impa, Kakariko Village, Zora, Gerudo, Rito, Gorons, Zelda's Lullaby, Epona, dungeons, dungeon bosses, and, of course, Cuckoos. Hopefully the plot can squeeze as much of those things into it so that the fans will be served with fan service. The Mario movie did a great job of this, and every time you spotted something from the Mario games, it was just great. Well, the blue shell may have been a little too forced, but the rest of it was pretty good. The plot doesn't need to be complicated. It can be as simple as Link and Zelda go to stop Ganondorf from doing bad things. And that quest can have plenty of ups and downs while they see much of the iconic stuff I mentioned earlier. If they keep the plot simple and instead focus on making Link's, Zelda's, and Ganondorf's character motivations believable and relatable, then this movie should be successful. Like I said, I'm worried that this movie could ruin the legend of Zelda. But I'm cautiously optimistic that they'll hit it out of the park. With Nintendo calling the shots, we should hopefully see something as good as the Mario movie. Of course, I've mostly discussed the story. There's still so much more that goes into making a movie. Casting, acting, directing, visual effects, music, and much more. But most of the time, a movie is bad because of its story. So that's why I'm so concerned and curious about it. I can't wait till we get our first trailer of the movie. If you made it to the end of this video, then congrats. Please like this video and subscribe so you can keep getting content like this, and comment on your thoughts of the Zelda movie. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the comments.